Welcome to Hello Port Hueneme. I'm your host Tom Dunn, and today we're starting a new feature on Hello Port Hueneme, and it's called City Council Review. What we plan to do is a day or so after every meeting is to go over the main topics and explain what went on so that you'll be informed. Plan to have with me most of the time this wonderful lady next to me, Eileen Tracy. Welcome to Hello Port Hueneme.
Thank you, Tom.
So Eileen, I would like for you to just give the people a little bit of background on your getting involved in the Port Hueneme City Council.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tom. So I came to Hueneme 4 years ago from Oxnard, and I tried real hard to ignore municipal government, so I didn't get involved for about 2.5 years. And I had originally started in Oxnard studying the games people play over in Oxnard, and then I got so involved in city government it's a kind of an addiction, and came here, and I saw in the paper that the city owed $2.4 million to HUD, but I never heard anybody talking about it, how they're going to deal with it. And then I find out that, because I know a lot about the water and wastewater, because you take it from Oxnard, and again, nobody was talking about what are we going to do about this. And I thought, I must be really stupid, because I never hear anybody talking about what I think is a serious problem. So then I went down to the Hueneme Museum, because I'm a history addict as well as municipal government addict, and met some really great people who know a lot about the city. And I find out that I'm not the only one concerned about Hueneme financing.
Well, it's great that you come and spend the time there. And one of the reasons I wanted to start this was there's no radio, TV, or newspaper in Port Hueneme. There's no way for discussions to go back and forth. So hopefully by doing these segments, we can get people involved in discussing these items. The first thing at the City Council meeting on Monday night was they discussed the sand replenishment. We've heard plenty about that. It was, I believe, 2 years ago or so they did a replenishment. I remember the pipes and everything. Yeah. And then I think it was about a year ago they had the water came up almost to the seawall in front of Surfside 1. That caused problems where they had to go in there and rebuild that. So you mentioned to me earlier that you had seen on Nextdoor Port Hueneme that people discussing this. What have you heard or know about it, the sand replenishment?
Actually, I didn't pick up on anything to do with the city on Nextdoor. I attended the Port Hueneme Historical Society. Mm-hmm. Has a distinguished speaker series, and the lady who is the director of the port came last month and spoke about it. She's very good, so I got to understand a little bit, but I don't really understand myself. What is the master plan? What's the goals here?
It is very detailed, and what they did mention at the City Council was that the dredging equipment is on site, but it's hasn't. They're still in the process of laying the pipe between the different beaches where they have to move the sand. And that's been sort of delayed by, in the last week or two, we had some windstorms, which means they can't, get the pipes and the ships to lay the pipe safely out there. So what they have done is they're going to start working on it again, and they think by mid-February in 2017, everything will be done. All the sand will be moved from one beach down to Port Hueneme. And the good news is that we were originally supposed to get about 750,000 cubic yards of sand, but now it's been raised to 1.3 million cubic yards. Oh. So that's a good increase, and I know the council and the mayor have been tracking the amount of sand we've been getting and say we need more, we deserve more. So that is a very positive thing for us. So we can look hopefully in the middle of February for this to be completed. The next issue that was addressed was wastewater. We are hooked up with Oxnard and their water treatment, and we have to pay a certain portion of what they pay. And I know that they just had Measure M, was that part of that?
Yeah.
So that's in limbo. It was voted for. Right?
Again, the people voted against
Having
adopting
it
that
done.
measure.
Okay, so the city of Oxnard has to figure out how to get the money to do all this. You have made a couple of speeches on the water situation in Oxnard and Port Hueneme. Can you update us on that?
Well, on the wastewater side, they did the cost of services, and it appeared to many people that it was overestimated because they would have a lot of assumptions in there. And the assumptions were greater than the actual cost of the cost of service final. So it seemed like it was double what it should be. And that's what caused Aaron Starr from Haas to organize the city. Amazing what he did. He organized almost 500 people to sign a petition to get their objection onto the ballot. And that's the Measure M. And so then 73,000 people voted in favor of the measure. And the measure said, take this back. We're not paying this exorbitant wastewater rate. And I think the people need to be forewarned that in the end, their bills for the three things could increase by 86% per year. Big money.
It is. And for the Port Hueneme citizens, let City Council know. Ask them for answers. And I think you'll find that they're going to be very responsive to getting back to the people.
Good, then I can have a lot of people alarmed like I am.
The next thing that the City Council did at the meeting was they took votes to select council members there's 12 committees that basically are adjuncts to other functions and organizations that the city is concerned with. Animal control, the military bases, the water, the transportation. And so they this year they voted and rearranged the members who were on the committees, and I think they got some fresh blood in there to do things. There's a couple of at least one of the councilmen will not be there for I think it's less than 2 years almost, and so we need to get people in there that can get up to speed and learn. And did you see anything in there that versus the past that you thought was interesting?
Well, yeah, because I was wondering why they didn't have more advisory groups in this city, and I looked on the website and they have a library group and a museum group, but I've told that the museum group never meets. And I thought, my goodness, why don't they because the citizen advisory group, when the council will listen to their recommendations, can really come up with some good ideas. But if there is no advisory group, for example, on the park problem or the roads or our relationship with the poor, etc., then the people who sometimes are no more than the council on one or more of these items aren't getting a chance to meet each other and come up with ideas.
I think what will happen is we're going to see a number of specific type of committees in the city worrying about city projects, like you said, the parks, the beach. We already have a library, the port relationships. We're going to have more committees that will put input into the city council, and I think it'll help along with these other committees. But every year it's changed around somewhat, and the council, they can learn a lot from that, the participation in that, and get funds for different projects that we have going. The next thing that was discussed of major proportions was Landscaping. There is an idea that maybe we'll have to outsource the landscaping. Fort Hueneme is fiscally in a bind right now, and so the council wants to find out how much it would save if we outsourced the landscaping. And there are those who want to keep the landscaping, and as it is, and there's a lot of issues here. What did you feel about what they said during the discussions Monday night?
I like the discussion, and I think it needs to continue because, and this is my own personal belief, because of the cost of pensions that goes on forever and ever and ever, long after the employee leaves. So that's a thing that the municipalities are getting into, that everybody's wondering, how are we going to do it? How are we going to keep it up? So, I mean, when I'm looking at whether to outsource or not, I include that because that's a hidden cost. So, and it's true, I think, that sometimes the city employees do a much better job than whoever you're outsourcing to. But there are other times when, they're professionals and they can come in and do a great job. But it's important, as we found out in Oxnard, that somebody go through the checklist of what's expected of them at the end of each time that they do their job in each area of the city, and make sure that you get an itemized bill or invoice, because if nobody's watching, sometimes you can get some big surprises, like residents complaining about the landscaping.
Well, there is a base rate that most landscaping companies charge, and then when other things happen, they are added on, and if you don't keep track of them,
Yep.
It's tough. I had some experience at our HOA finding a new landscaping company when we went from in-house to having professional companies come in. And it took me 2 years and 3 or 4 companies to find a landscaping company that was able to do what they promised or what the contract said.
Yeah.
And not knowing a lot about landscaping, whether anybody in the city knows enough to listen to a couple bids and know what all is there. An example is Fort Hueneme, again, is unique in that we have the beach, and we have palm trees, and when it gets windy, it blows sand all over the place. They have tractors, guys from the city driving tractors that move the sand back to the way it was. We have to find a company that can do that. So it gets very involved, and it needs a lot to look into, and I think the question comes down is to what's the difference between keeping it versus outsourcing.
A lot.
Is it a big amount, or is it a medium amount, or a smaller amount? Because there can be a lot of headache and supervising of,
Right.
Are they doing the right job?
Right, but I just want to say, I think the mayor brought up the statement about, we have financial problems, we have a structural deficit, and how much priority do we want to give in the city to landscaping until we can recover the structural deficit? And I thought that was a really important question. I've noticed that on this council, some of them seem to be, I don't know if this is true or not, but seem to be lifers. I call them lifers on the council. And that means they want to get reelected. So every time they give a vote, they're watching their constituents. Are they still going to get reelected? And sometimes that doesn't serve the city in its entirety. So that worries me. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe they're not lifers, but sometimes I worry about that.
I think there has been an issue that at times certain council members, staff, department heads, or whatever, look at their job before they look at what benefits the citizens of Fort Hueneme. And with the fiscal situation we have now, it is really hard to make decisions if you're not looking out for the best for the people and their pocketbooks. So you hit the nail on the head there, and I think this will take a while for them to get it right.
Yeah.
And we all have to get involved and see what we can do.
Thank you. So I didn't make it up.
No, you did not. You did not. And the last thing I wanted to go into was that it was brought up that the port and the city have an agreement, and right now it stands that the port is giving the city $200,000 to spend for whatever projects they want to do. Also in that, the mayor has proposed a draft for 2017 of how we need to start moving forward in solving our fiscal problems. It seems like the last couple of years it's been very, very slow. So this is an action plan to put before the council and the people, you know, let's start working on these things and find out how we should spend the money. Did you get any feel from that on?
I did. I had no idea where the money came from, but I know they were talking about UCB money or something, but I don't care wherever the money comes from, as long as the money is rolling in. And, you know, I'm glad that Will Berg is on the council now, because he seemed to be acting as a mediator between two different sides, and he's a pretty nice guy, and because he brings a lot of knowledge about the port and the Navy base, so he's valuable, I think, as far as looking at both sides and trying to come up with the best solution. But I mean, I keep thinking until fiscal recovery plan is agreed to, like maybe a year or two, I guess that's all you got, how much you can accomplish. I kind of think some things might be going on hold, and because belts have to be tightened in this city. And I think it's a long discussion on like some of the things we talked about right here, and other people's ideas. I mean, I'm not Little Miss Know-It-All. I'm the one with the questions.
Well, that's what we want, is everybody to listen and question, and there's going to have to be some real belt tightening, and the action plan that the mayor has is a first step for us to look at and find out what we can or cannot do.
And I can't wait for that. I was so sorry we didn't get to it the other night.
Well, they do plan, I believe, to have an open forum to start this off so they can get input, and that's, the more minds we have working on this, the better. There are people I know working on certain ideas that they're going to present to the city, which hadn't been done before, and that could certainly help. Eileen, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you next week. And come join us again next week, and we'll have another City Hall review. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.